get better. And, just pray for the whole Haddon family as they go through something like that. So pray for them. And back, good to see you up here this morning in Beetle. Also, inside your bulletin, it's Teen Camp Week. So pray for teenagers as they go to camp this week. It says there's about a dozen going. So a dozen teenagers will be leaving for Servant's Heart this week for a week of camp. So pray for them as they're away. And God will work in their hearts too and things that they're doing. We do have a couple other prayer requests that were written down this morning. So Brother John McCulloch asked prayer for Dick Boland. I think we prayed for Dick before, but pray for Dick. He has a COPD procedure on the 17th. That's probably Wednesday, I think. But he's 92 years old and obviously has breathing, but he has to go for cancer surgery, but needs this prep before that to make sure everything's okay. So pray for Dick Boland this week as he goes into that preparation procedure, COPD. Grace Getchell's here. She asked prayer for Tammy again and also for her son-in-law Jack for those health issues that we've been praying for. So continue to pray for Tammy and Jack. And God will work in those situations with Grace. And Cindy Thompson there this morning, she asked prayer for Dr. Jeffrey Whitman for his eyes. He has trouble with his eyes, so she asked prayer for that. She also asked prayer for travel safety for Marion and Bob Brandt. They're going to Germany, so pray for traveling mercies for them, that God will work in that situation. That's the Brandts going to Germany. And also Cindy's asked prayer for some of her cousins. She has written down their JWs. Some of us may know, Jehovah's Witness. So pray for that family. And Cindy's also asked prayer as she goes to visit them. She wants to be able to talk with them and tell them the truth, and also that somebody would visit with her. So pray for Cindy and her cousins. Her cousins' names are Jim and Chris. So pray for them, Thompson, and just pray that God will even now start to soften their hearts to the truth of the word there. So that's what I've written down this morning. My brother Larry.
Jeremy, Megan, and Maddie fly back home this afternoon, so pray for them for safety. He's not a big fan of flying, but he made it up okay.
Yes, he did make it up.
He did make it up okay.
So pray for Jeremy and the family as they travel back, for traveling mercy back to Florida. Neil. You do. Okay, so pray for Neil. Neil's going in for a colonoscopy on Tuesday, so it's this Tuesday coming up. So pray for Neil that procedure will go well and everything will go there. They're going to find anything bad. Brother Bill?
I'll pray for Joanne and her family. That's my daughter. They're on vacation this week. They'll be traveling.
Okay, so pray for Brother Bill and Ruth Ann's daughter Joanne. They're traveling for vacation. Give them traveling mercy and safety too. Let them go well there. All right, we'll go to the Lord in prayer, and then Brother Scott will come up for our Sunday school lesson this morning. So let's bow our heads in prayer this morning. I didn't mention, our shut of the week is Diane Colbert. We'll pray for her over at Warriorville Presbyterian Home, and we do get to see Joe on Sunday night, so pray for them. And then our missionaries of the week are the Booths, who serve in England. That's Joshua and Melissa Booth. So pray for them this week too. As we pray this morning. Let's pray. Dear God, it is good to be in your house this morning. You've given us a good day, Lord. We can just worship you in the sunshine this morning. And I thank you for the comfort that we have here, Lord, in the building. The air conditioning works. It's comfortable, Lord, and I thank you for that. And I just thank you for the blessings that each one of us get, Lord. Not only here as a church, that the church family will bless, and individually, Lord, will bless. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for meeting our needs and allowing us to be here this morning. But Lord, there's also physical needs and other spiritual needs that are brought before us. And Lord, we want to bring those to you. And I think of Micah Haddon, a young boy in our church family, Lord, dealing with cancer, leukemia, Lord. And I just pray for Micah as he deals with that, Lord. And I just pray, Lord, that you continue to give the doctors wisdom in treating him and helping him, Lord. I do pray for the Haddon family, Lord, that you would work mightily with them, Lord. Comfort them, strengthen them, Lord, and Lord, just help Micah physically to overcome, especially as he goes through the chemotherapy treatment, Lord. I just thank you for taking them so far, Lord, and I just pray our prayer, Lord, together this morning, that you would Lord, I also pray for our teenagers as they go to camp this week, Lord. I pray that everything will go well with the logistics of going up there and coming back, Lord. But I also pray it will be a good time with the speaker and the challenges, Lord, to work on their hearts, but also, a time of fun and fellowship with the other teenagers from other like-minded faiths and churches, Lord. And I just pray that they would have a good time, and Lord, that you would work spiritually in them as they hear the word presented up there at Servant's Heart Camp, Lord. I also pray, Lord, for Diane Tolbert, our shut-in a week. I pray for Diane. Just sometimes she has physical difficulties and mental difficulties, Lord, and I just pray that you would help her through that, dealing with the pain and discomfort, Lord. And I thank you for Joe, that he's able to support her and help her. And Lord, our prayer is that you just be with both of them as they're over at the Coreyville Presbyterian home. And our missionaries of the week, Booth, Lord, they serve you in England, Joshua and Melissa Booth, Lord. I pray for both of them and their ministry there as they serve you, Lord. Lord, just let them be able to present the gospel, give them boldness in sharing it, and Lord, soften the hearts of people to put them in contact with it. They can share the gospel in England there, Lord. Just pray for good things to come in the church over there. Lord, also some requests. I pray for Dick Boland, a friend of the McCullochs, Lord, who's going in for a COPD procedure on Wednesday, Lord. And just, Lord, he's older and needs help, and I just pray physically help him for that as they prep for cancer surgery. And I pray that all would go well in that procedure this week. I also pray for Grace Gutshall's daughter Tammy, and Lord, we've been praying for her hand, for healing there, that she'll be able to use that. Lord, that it will get better for her. It's been a while since the injury, and for her son-in-law Jack, Lord, I pray for his health and the needs there, Lord. I just pray for each one of them. Pray Cindy Thompson prays for Dr. Jeffrey Whitman's eyes and for healing there, Lord. I just pray that you would touch them and that they would be good. Work in that situation, Lord. I pray for travel mercy for friends Marion and Bob Brandt that are traveling to Germany, Lord. Give them safety in their trip. I pray that all will go well there. Lord, you would bring them back safely. Let them just have a good time as they travel over to Germany. I also pray for Cindy's cousins, Jim and Chris Thompson. Lord, just pray that you would be able to work in their life through Cindy. Lord, I pray that she'll have an opportunity to visit them and someone to go with her. That's our prayer this morning, and that you would work with Cindy and use her to be able to share the truth of your gospel, that she could share it with Jim and Chris, and they would have a true understanding of the true gospel, Lord. And I pray that you would work in their lives. Even now, soften their heart. Give them questions in their mind that they might want answered, Lord. And I pray that that would open up the conversation for Cindy. Pray for Jeremy Anderson and his family, Lord, as they're traveling back to Florida. Give them safety on their trip. I do pray for Neil this morning, too. Neil sees Florida. Just as he has his colonoscopy on Tuesday, and I pray that everything will go well with that procedure, and that, Lord, I pray everything will be negative, too, that there will be no problems to be found. I pray all will go well there for Neil. Pray for Joanne, Bill and Ruth Ann's daughter, as they travel, Lord, give her safety, and the family there, Lord, have a good time, and I pray that all will go well there. Lord, I do pray your blessing upon our time here, or upon all the other Sunday school classes. Brother Scott brings our lesson this morning. Lord, bless him, and Lord, help him as he studies throughout the week and prepares. And Lord, now at this time where he delivers the lesson, and I pray for him and for Pastor as he does our morning worship, the evening service this evening, Lord. I pray everything we do give honor, glory to you. Amen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So we are going to be in Ecclesiastes again, as will be for the next, I guess 11 more weeks. Ecclesiastes. We'll be in chapter 3 mainly this week. All right. Ecclesiastes chapter number 3. If you remember last week, we had I remember we're going through and making decisions as we go along each week. Excuse me, and And the first decision that we talked about was to trust by resting, right? Trust by resting. Because remember, we are called to work by God. We're called by Him to work, I should say, and but we are also commanded by Him as well to rest in His the time that He appropriated for us to rest. And remember that busyness is really a choice that we make. We choose our own schedule. We make our own schedule many times, and we're only as busy as we choose to be in many cases. In that busyness, if we make it too busy, it can lead us to despair, and it can ruin relationships and have all kinds of effects on our lives here while we're here on earth. But this morning we're going to talk about a little bit different. We're going to continue down this road of what Solomon teaches us by his autobiography here in Ecclesiastes. And we're going to be in the first 10 verses here at first, in chapter number 3. Familiar scripture for sure. It says in verse number 1, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to rend, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time of war, and a time of peace. What profit hath he that worketh, in that wherein he laboureth? I have seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. So here we see in the first 10 verses of Ecclesiastes 3 some pretty sharp comparison or contrast that Solomon has given us here in these beginning verses here. But you know, how many love weather? We love weather. Just in general, I love weather. I love weather. I do. I think it's fascinating. I think it's just amazing to watch. I think the sky is beautiful. Whether it's bad weather or good weather, really, and many times it can be beautiful either way, right? And so I mean, to see a huge thunderstorm rolling in, to me, I think it's pretty neat. You know, I don't like the effects of it necessarily, but it's pretty cool watching it roll in. But yeah, weather. You know, and as many of maybe all of you know, I grew up in Chicago. In Chicago, it has its share of weather, that's for sure. But obviously Chicago is known for wind, right? The windy city, but it's also got quite a brisk winter. You get lake effect snow there, and you get all kinds of freezing cold with the wind chill and whatnot because of the wind, right? And so yeah, I grew up in Chicago, and then I went to California, well, by way of San Antonio, Texas, in the middle of the summer for basic training. But it was real hot down there, if you didn't know that. And then I went out to California. Of course, it was pretty hot out there. And then and spent a little time in the tropical island for a time, so it was pretty hot down there. And then went over to Louisiana. It was pretty hot down there as well. And then I made my way up here into Pennsylvania, where it's not quite so hot. It gets kind of cool sometimes. And I wasn't really used to the cool, and so it was kind of hard to adjust, you know. But that's just the nature of things, isn't it? I mean, that's just weather, that's just life, right? And but you know what? When I was in Chicago, I complained about the snow and the cold. When I was in California, man, it was hot. When I was in Louisiana, whoo, it was even hotter, you know, and it was even more humid. And now I'm back up here in Pennsylvania, and I'm freezing in the wintertime again. You know, man, I no matter where I went, I complained. You know, I complained there, I complained here. You know, no matter where I was, I could complain about something. You know, and you think about the seasons of our that we experience here on Earth, right? We talk about fall, right? What's so great about fall? You get a lot of color, right? You get a lot of color. You get some really pretty stuff in the trees and stuff. But man, are there a lot of leaves already, right? And then of course, wintertime. You know, it's really beautiful when it snows, right? You wake up and you look out the window before anybody's touched it, before the snow clouds have gone by, before the kids have tromped in it or you shoveled it or whatever the case may be, and it is gorgeous, right? Especially the kind that lays thick in the trees, you know, and it's so cool. And but then you got to go shovel it, right? You got to go shovel it. Spring, it's really pretty with everything blooming and all the flowering trees and the flowers coming up and everything is getting green again. And so everything is looking really, really cool. But then what comes? A whole bunch of rain, right? A whole bunch of rain. Or maybe some allergies for you have allergy problems, right? And then summer, it's really great. In the beginning of summer, it's really great. It's like my perfect temperature, like 72 degrees, not very much humidity. It's really pretty nice, right? But then, of course, you get into the dog days of summer, and it's not so nice anymore. Now you do nothing but sweat and simmer, and tensions can run high because of that. It can get pretty ugly. But, our lives are a lot like those seasons. And Solomon, he teaches us here in his first 10 verses here, really in chapter 3, about seasons of life. About seasons of life. He reminds us that life always moves and always changes, right? There's never it's never just status quo for very long. You aren't where you were, you won't always be where you are now, and in God's purpose, all of the seasons of life are leading you to something beautiful, something awesome that only God has prepared for you and me, if you know and follow Jesus. But every season, like we talked about, you got to shovel the snow, you got to rake the leaves, you got to deal with the rain, you got to deal with the dog days of summer. Every season has its burdens, doesn't it? Every season has its burdens. No matter where you are in life, every season is going to have its burdens. But our contentment, many times, is a function of our expectations. It's a function of our expectations. We set ourselves up for disappointment, really, when we have unrealistic expectations of God and maybe others' purposes. And then we're doubly disappointed when what we expect doesn't happen. And then we're even more disappointed because we're disappointed. It's kind of a domino effect there sometimes. The problems a lot of times can stem from viewing Jesus as really kind of a concierge instead of our Lord. Kind of God is some kind of karmic force that gives us blessings when we're good, and so we try to perform to that. And while there's truth in that, right? God does bless us when we fulfill or when we do His will and obey Him. There's not a straight line through all of that. John 16:33. We'll be back in Ecclesiastes. Hopefully it's not too late to say safe place. John 16:33. Jesus says, "These things I have spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Life is filled with blessings, and it's also filled with burdens. And many times they overlap each other, and they exist simultaneously. Paul wrote to the Philippians about rejoicing all the time while saying he was sorrowing and rejoicing at the same time. Sorrow and joy are not mutually exclusive. They often coexist within the same season of life. You're not going to get one season of all burdens and one season of all blessing necessarily. Oftentimes you experience both at the same time. The same God who said, "Call unto me and I will answer thee and show thee great and mighty things," in Jeremiah, right? He also said, "Hey, hang on tight. You're in for some tribulation," as we see here, right? But don't worry, I've overcome the world. You're going to have peace through it all. It's the same God. Solomon teaches us to expect a hardship during all of life's seasons. And in the first 10 verses here, he bounces back between the positive and the negative, right? We see some of these negative words like die, kill, break down, weep, mourn, lose, rend, hate, war. None of those I would say are good words, right? Words that we would like to use on a continual basis describing the events that are happening in our lives. All not very good things. And generally, we as human beings, we live our lives doing all that we can to avoid hardship, right? None of us want to be in hardship. None of us want to go through any kind of burden in life, right? Does anybody want to go through burdens? Come on. No, I don't either. I don't either. You know, I want it to be all, you know, rainbows and unicorns and sparkles and sprinkles and ice cream cones, you know? Like, that would be great. And pizza. And pizza. And just to round out my meal, donuts for breakfast. That would be awesome. If it was all like that. But that's not the way it is. Sometimes our deepest motivation in following God can be traced to wanting Him to perform well on our behalf, right? To keep us smooth sailing and keep us free from any kind of hardships, whether they be health-wise or financially or circumstances with your job or whatever the case may be. Sometimes we perform for God to try and make that happen. It goes back to that karmic force that we view God as sometimes. And so yeah, it's we all want good things. And God wants good things for us, doesn't He?
Yep.
All good things come from God, right? All good gifts are from Him. He wants us to bless. He wants to bless us and wants us to have good things. But He's not our concierge. He's our Lord. He's our Lord. We need to trust His word and accept that we are saved from, but still living in, this fallen world. This fallen world. Means in the middle of all our blessings, we are still bearing some burdens. We still bear some burdens. During the beautiful fall, we'll still rake leaves, right? Through the pretty snow, we're still going to scrape some ice through the nice green and long days of summer. Where we get all the joys of that. We're still going to deal with some hot times. So no matter what season we're in, there's always going to be some sort of burden to go along with the blessing that comes with it. We're still going to, with everything green in the spring, we're still going to hold an umbrella sometimes, right? That's just the way life is. We tend to look back, and really, this is very, if we can grasp this, if we can understand this more fully, it can be life-changing, this realization. Because why is that? Well, it's because we tend to look back and remember how, you want to finish that sentence? When we look back, we see how good it was, right? Mm-hmm. And when we look forward, what do we see? We see how good it will be. You can imagine that, right? So we tend to look back and we see how good it was, and we look forward and see how good it will be. But by implication, what does that mean in our lives for today? What is today? It stinks. Right? Because you're always looking back and seeing how good it was. You're always looking forward. Oh man, it's going to be great. But today, just really, that's awful. But is that really the case? Is today really awful? Is today really awful? We miss how good God is in the right now when we tend to look backwards and forwards. We miss everything that He's doing in our lives today. If now is always negative, your imagination will remember yesterday for its positives and dream of a better tomorrow. And you always see today as a negative at the expense of the blessings that God has given to you today. You'll always be trying to get back to where you were, trying to get to where you hope to go, rather than saving and enjoying where God has you right now and what He's doing in your life. One key to living lighter and loving better, because that's the series theme, if you will, is to expect and embrace the burdens that come into every season of life. Because they are going to come. They're unavoidable. We can't escape them. The only real option that we have is to embrace them and grow through them, right? And then leverage them for God's glory. That's our only real option. It's the only one that makes sense. Rather than resist the hardship that God allows to come into our lives, rather than resist it, embrace them as good gifts that God has meant them to be. Say, how can they be good gifts? Well, guess what you do through them? God grows you closer to Him through them a lot of times. Maybe He grows your relationships with other people through them. Maybe He's setting you up to help somebody else further down the line so that you can give God the glory. Because that's what it's all meant to do, whether it's good or whether it's bad. It's all meant for us to give God the glory through it all. That's what it's all about. Instead of letting today's hardship come down on top of you, climb on top of it and shout how good God is from that top. Because every season has its beauty. Every season has its beauty, right? Because the first 10 verses, we see a lot of positive things here as well, don't we? It's not just all negative. And in fact, it's maybe one of the first positives we see in the book of Ecclesiastes, these first 10 verses. We see born, plant, pluck up, heal, build up, laugh, dance, gather, embrace, get, keep, sow, speak, love, peace. There's multiple layers of burdens and blessing in each season of life that we go through. Summer, there's green, there's warm, there's sunshine, there's long days, there's the corn wagon, right? Fall, there's the color, there's the mild temperature, there's harvest time, there's the festivals that go along with the harvest time, right? Winter, there's beautiful snow, there's warm coffee, there's fireplaces, there's sweatshirts and flannel. In the spring, there's blossom, there's growth, there's baseball, there's March Madness, right? Mild temperatures. So your life seasons are also layered with beauty. They're not all about the burden. Right now, your life is pretty special. In the right now, there's beauty in this season, no matter what you may be going through. You may be, it may be hard for you to see. You may be blinded by circumstances. But God's grace will give you eyes of understanding if you want it. This season right now, no matter what you may be going through, has its own beauty. And it's working towards something more beautiful if you're a child of God, if Jesus is your Lord. And to love lighter and to live lighter and to love better, you got to choose to see the beauty in each season. Along with accept the burden of each season. Choose to cherish every season and love what God is doing right now in your life. How many of you guys are familiar with this thing called the Boston Marathon? I cannot imagine voluntarily doing anything worse than that. I'm sorry, I can't imagine it. Like, to me, I just don't run very well. I can sprint for a few inches, but I just can't imagine running 26. I guess it's even 0.2 miles. Like, they can't even round it off to 26, right? They got to make it 26.2, or whatever it is. I can't imagine. But in 2015. On April 20th at 9 a.m., Boston Marathon started up. And thousands of people, in fact, anybody want to hazard a guess of how many people ran the Boston Marathon that day? Just throw it out there if you want to. 5 people. 5,000. 5,000 people. Anybody else? I'll tell you he's low. 13,000. Anybody else? He's low. Huh? You're close, but you're still low. He said 22,000. It's actually 26,610 people ran the Boston Marathon in 2015. Roughly 14,000 men and 12,000 women. I'm sorry, I have a hard time fathoming that many people actually running that much. Like, it just boggles my mind. It really, truly does. But yeah, 26,000 people got together on that day. And you know what the fastest time was? It was like 2 hours and 6 or 8 minutes, something like that. 2 hours. There's people here in this county that can drive 26 miles in 2 hours. I've been behind them for a very long time. 2 hours it takes. So, what's my point in talking about the Boston Marathon? 2015, there was this one guy, his name was, if I can get it right, Mikhail Melendra, I think it is. I think refer to my notes. Melamed, that's it. Mikhail Melamed. Miguel Melamed. He's from Venezuela. And this was his, I believe it was 5th marathon. He had done New York, Chicago, Tokyo, one other one, and I got it there somewhere. But and then now this was his 5th one in Boston. So what's so special about him? Well, he came in last place. He came in last place. It was his 5th time doing a marathon. He came in last place. And in fact, you won't even find his name in the records for finishing. At least the ones that I looked up and looked in. You won't even find his name there. He did get a medal for finishing, but he because everybody gets a finishing medal, I believe, from what I understand. So he did get his a couple days later, or actually the next day. So what's so special about Mikkel? Well, he finished 12 hours and some odd minutes after the last official person. The last official person did it in like 8 hours and like 6 minutes. That was the last official finisher. But he finished in just over 20 hours. You say, wow, he's slow. You're right, he is slow. But can I tell you, every step for him was agony and effort. He has muscular dystrophy. And this was his fifth marathon, mind you. He's also climbed the highest peak in his home country of Venezuela. Every step, if you go and watch the video of him crossing the line, it's kind of neat. And right before that, he had a group of supporters that came out, and actually, when people started hearing about him, more people even came out to watch him finish. But he officially finished but 20 hours. 20 hours. And boy, you say, why? Why? Well, you wanted to inspire people to understand that, you can be determined, and no matter what the obstacle is, you can see it through. That was his goal, was to be an inspiration to others by his determined attitude. That was is going to be his last marathon because of the toll it took on his body. He lost a lot of weight between the preparation and the actual running of it, and other health issues. It's going to be his last one. Is there a burden there? Was he carrying a burden that whole time? Absolutely. Is there beauty there? Is there beauty there as well? There is, right? What is it? Him crossing the finish line, him making it through it. And I left this little part out. Like for the majority of the majority of the final time that he was walking there, he had to do it in a hard driving, cold rain. They even had thunderstorms. So like it wasn't even a pleasant day, right? But he finished. Yeah, there was burden there. Yes, there was even beauty there. And you know what? To some degree, the burden is almost what makes the beauty so beautiful. Isn't it? Just the fact that he did it through all the burden. Right. If Jesus is your Savior and Lord, you can truly cherish now. Right now, you can cherish it. This very minute, this very season in life, no matter what you may be going through, if Jesus is your Lord, you can cherish it. You can rest in His good plan of grace. And claim the promise that He says, right? In Romans 8:28, you know that what? All things work together for good, right? That's what it's called according to His purpose. That you can claim that promise if you're His today. Rather than living to escape now, you can enjoy now. A lot of people in this world live to escape right now. Why do you think we have so many drug and alcohol problems? Marital issues. All kinds of things that go on in families today and in lives today. Rather than always being bothered by the delusion of a better yesterday or a better someday, you can live lighter in the delight of today. Every season has its better path. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 says, He hath made everything beautiful in His time. Also He hath set the world in their hearts, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. I know there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, or anything taken from it, and God doeth it. That men should fear before Him. Later in verse number 20, it says, All go into one place, all are the dust, and all turn to dust again. Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth? Wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his portion. For who shall bring him to see what shall be after him? Solomon here is finally addressing eternity. Took him a couple chapters, but he's finally addressing eternity. Excuse me. And that life is a shadow of something better. Life is just a shadow of something far better in eternal that's written in our hearts. That's what he's talking about when he says there, he has set the world in our hearts. He set eternity, the whole world in our hearts. We know that there's something more as human beings. He's given us a conscious, deep level knowledge that it's there. That it's there. And that it's in God's hands. We are beholden to his sovereignty. We are subject to his power. We are answerable to his laws and accountable to his authorities. We are to God. That's what we are. And Solomon is finally poking his head above the clouds and showing us the hope for all of us for all of the people out there that are living for self that they never find. They never find that hope. They never have that hope. All of us here in Christ, we have hope. But they do not. The hope that we have is that something, that everything here is leading to something more beautiful. So what is the better path? Well, first is to trust Jesus in this finished work on the cross. That's the better path. Secondly, if you already know him, well, cherish right now. Cherish this very season no matter what's happening. Choose to embrace the burdens and enjoy the beauty of this day right here. No matter which it is. It's a choice of stopping looking back when life is better or looking forward when you think life will be better for some way. And to be thankful and content with what's going on right here and now. It's saying like Mikhail says, right? If it would say anyway. If I can't run like I want to, well, you know what? I'm gonna choose to walk with joy how I can. See each season as the gift of God that it is. Because no matter what it is, what you're going through, it's a gift of God. You can resist the seasons of life, or you can cooperate with them. Just as a farmer must cooperate with the seasons and with the weather to plant and to harvest his crops, we must also deal with those things when they come into our life as well. Perhaps today is just a planting day that's going to lead to a bigger harvest tomorrow or in a day in the future. Our discontentment sometimes flows from attempting to fulfill our desires before God's ready to fulfill them. Or with things that God's not necessarily wanting to fulfill them with. It involves rebelling against the season right now and trying to rob from another one to make you what you think would be happier right now. A lot of times those things run contrary to God's timeline, right? And we tend to rush through even our own timeline to try and get it faster, especially in this age of everything in the right now, right? Started with microwaves. All of a sudden we could have our food right now, right? Then cable. We could watch anything we want right now, right? Now the internet and the devices that we can have anything we want right now. Even food, because we can order it through the stupid thing. Excuse me. Are you mourning and moping your way forward? Every moment that you're murmuring or mourning, there's a lot of M's in this. Every moment you're murmuring or mourning is a moment that you're missing. It's true, isn't it? Did I say that right? I think I did. A lot of M's, but it came out right. In short, the time and the seasons that we do have are going to be gone, right? In a very short while. They don't last forever. Present passed away with a blessing being missed because you're so focus on the burdens. Chapter 3 challenges us to think this way. This is where God's placed me. This is where I'll be joyful. And I will be gratefully expecting good things from God. Whether they be burdens or blessings. God is at work in my life. God is making something beautiful. I can choke on the burdens or I can cherish the blessings. It's your choice. It's my choice. Contentment is a choice. When I praise, I progress, right? Philippians 4:11. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to what? Be content. For I have learned in whatsoever state I am therewith, be content. Back in Ecclesiastes 3, verse 16. Solomon says, moreover, I saw the sun, under the sun, the place of judgment, that wickedness was there. In the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and there for every work. I said in my heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. Everybody has a Savior. Everybody has a belief system. And it's all based on faith, whether it's scholarship or objectivity or whatever. When it all comes down to the big questions of life, it's all based on faith, right? Where did I come from? Why am I here? Who is God? Is there a God? It's all based on faith. Remember, that's one of those questions. In 16 through 18 here, Solomon looks to the things of earth, right? Because he says, and this is the key phrase you got to remember, is you got to remember what Solomon is talking about when he talks about the place of judgment and the place of righteousness, right? Is he talking about God's judgment and is he talking about God's righteousness there? And how do we know if he is? Well, it's a key thing in verse 16. It says, moreover, I saw what? Under the sun, right? If it's under the sun, it's here on earth, right? So the judgment, seats of judgment here on earth, wickedness is there. The righteousness, the good things that people are doing on earth, iniquity is there. So Solomon's looking at the things of the world and he's saying that, hey, there's no hope here. There's no hope here. But when he looks up, he remembers that God is a perfect judge. And the brokenness of our world should cause the people, the beasts that he's saying here, to see their beastfulness and to see who he is. God is. So what are you hanging your life on, your hopes and dreams on? Are you hanging them on Christ or are you hanging them on this world? If you're hanging them on Christ, where's your focus at? Is it always on the burdens? Is it always down here under the sun? When Solomon was here, he always kept his eyes pointed down here under the sun for the most part, and it crushed him. It does the same thing to us. When you rest in Jesus, embrace this season because you can. Enjoy this season and anticipate the beauty that's coming because it surely is coming. We've been promised. So what's the decision for this week? Well, the decision for this week is I choose to cherish now by God's grace. I choose to cherish now by God's grace. Last week it was trust by resting. Today is choosing to cherish the now. Are you going to do that? I hope you will. I'm certainly going to try to do it. I know I can get bogged down in what I see as the bad things. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord. We thank you for your love and goodness. We thank you, Lord, that everything you do bring into our life is for our good. Whether it be things that we would view as bad or whether these be what we would view as a great blessing. They're all meant for our either enjoyment or our growth, or both. Lord, helps us see it that way. Help us take a larger view of our life, a view that you would have us to see. We love you, Lord. Thank you for your love for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
How you doing?